The beginning. It all began January 5th, 1893, in Gorakhpur, India, known today as Uttar Pradesh, India, when Paramahansa Yogananda was born. His birth name was Mukunda Lal Ghosh. He grew up in a Bengali family with his mother, father, and siblings composed of 3 brothers and 4 sisters. Mukunda was the second son but 4th born in his family. When Mukunda was an infant, he remembered what most of us forget: life as an infant. He states infancy was all toys and toys in a helpless body, and as he got older, he remembered his mother's caresses as well as his first steps, even though early memory of infancy is not that rare. His father was a mathematician, and his mother expressed herself through love. His father ran a strict household, but fair household. His mother would get all the children ready to welcome their father from the office. His father held a very high spot in the household, like a vice president. Due to his father's career, he moved to many cities throughout his childhood. His parents loved giving back to charities and helping people in need so much that his mother spent more money than his father's monthly income in feeding the hungry. His father didn't mind that his wife was very charitable, but asked she stay within the budget he set. Mukunda's father was very strict about the budget, so much so that he wouldn't buy a new pair of shoes until the ones he owned couldn't last any longer. Mukunda and his siblings were opposite, going out and getting the latest motorcycles for the newest trend at the time. The moment Mukunda's grandparents passed away is when he experienced poverty for the first time. The poverty was so bad he would have as little as 1 banana for breakfast on his way to school in the morning. Later in his life, he applied for student financial aid at the university for 1 rupee a month and was sadly declined. His father told him, "Every man enters this world penniless and leaves this world with not 1 rupee." He was a very simple man. A mother's love. At the tender age of 11 years old, Mukunda moved with his father to Bareilly after 2 years of living in Lahore. Mukunda's mother was in Calcutta overlooking preparations for her eldest son Ananta's wedding. She was so thrilled about the wife she had chosen for him that she said, "Ah, when I see the face of Ananta's wife, it will be heaven on this earth." One morning, Mukunda woke up suddenly to the spiritual form of his mother. The figure faintly whispered to Mukunda and told him to wake up his father and take the first available train to Calcutta if he was going to see his mother again. He immediately woke up his father and yelled, "Father, Mother is dying." As he sat there sobbing, his father told him not to believe those hallucinations and reassured him his mother was in excellent health, but if they heard otherwise, then they would leave the next day. Mukunda didn't believe him and told his father that he would never forgive himself if they didn't leave as soon as possible. The following morning, Mukunda and his father got horrible news that his mother was very sick, and the wedding was off until further notice. They left immediately. Mukunda was determined to get to her as fast as possible. His mother was his best friend, and he felt safe when he was with her, so he didn't want anything to happen to her. Mukunda couldn't yet think of a world without her in it. Before they arrived in Calcutta to see her, Mukunda asked his uncle if she was still alive, and he said she was, but Mukunda barely believed him. They finally arrived in Calcutta to see his mother had passed. So many emotions ran through Mukunda that he fell into a lifeless state. While he cried, he summoned the Divine Mother. She stormed the heavens gates and said, "I am the one that has watched over you through many lives and in the love of many mothers. See 2 black eyes in my gaze, the lost, beautiful eyes you seek most." The Himalayas. Once the funeral for his mother was done, Mukunda headed back to Bareilly with his father. Later that evening, he saw light appearing from the dawn. He had an intense longing for God and felt a force drawing him to the Himalayas. Listening to the stories his cousin would tell once returning from the high mountains about the yogis and swamis made Mukunda want to run to the Himalayas. Mukunda's eldest brother, Ananta, found out about Mukunda's wishes to run to the Himalayas, and instead of telling their father, he mocked him and would say, "How will you be a Swami without an orange robe?" That didn't stop Mukunda. Instead, it helped him have a clear image of himself roaming India as a monk. He believed his brother could have woken up past life memories. At the end of the day, he was only going to listen to himself and do what he believed he needed to do and was meant to do. That afternoon, he ran to the Nainital in the foothills of the Himalayan mountains. His brother Ananta ran after him and brought him back home to Bareilly. Mukunda's heart was broken for the loss of both human and divine mother. Time that followed the passing of his mother had a strong effect on his father. His father never remarried for the remaining of his life and became more approachable and more like a mother. He fixed family problems with insight and calmness. Mukunda's father later retired and stayed locked away in his room practicing yoga. His father refused any help from a nurse and said, "Any help to me ended with your mother, and I will not accept help from any other woman." The final message. 14 months after Mukunda's mother passed away, he learned that Ananta was with her at her deathbed and recorded her final message. That recording was for Mukunda, but his brother was late in giving it to him by the year deadline their mother had given him. Ananta didn't want to give Mukunda the message because he feared it would make him want to leave home even more. As Mukunda's older brother got ready to leave for Calcutta to marry the woman his mother chose for him, he finally fulfilled his promise and handed Mukunda a small box with his mother's message to him. The message read, "Let these words be my final blessing, my beloved son Mukunda. The hour is here when I must relate a number of phenomenal events following your birth. I first knew your destined path when you were but a babe in my arms. I carried you then to the home of my guru in Benares. Almost hidden behind a throng of disciples, I could barely see Lahiri Mahasaya as he sat in deep meditation. While I patted you, I was praying that the great guru take notice and bestow a blessing. As my silent devotional demand grew in intensity, he opened his eyes and beckoned me to approach. The others made a way for me. I bowed at the sacred feet. My master seated you on his lap, placing his hand on your forehead by way of spiritually baptizing you. Little mother, thy son will be a yogi. As a spiritual engine, he will carry many souls to God's kingdom." My heart leapt with joy to find my secret prayer granted by the omniscient guru. Shortly before your birth, he had told me you would follow his path. Later, my son, your vision of the great light was known to me and your sister Roma, as from the next room we observed you motionless on the bed. Your little face was illuminated. Your voice rang with iron resolve as you spoke of going to the Himalayas in quest of the divine. In these ways, dear son, I came to know that your road lies far from worldly ambitions. The most singular event in my life brought further confirmation, an event which now impels my deathbed message. It was an interview with a sage in the Punjab. While our family was living in Lahore, one morning the servant came precipitately into my room. "Mistress, a strange sadhu is here. He insists that he see the mother of Mukunda." These simple words struck a profound chord within me. I went at once to greet the visitor. Bowing at his feet, I sensed that before me was a true man of God. "Mother, the great masters wish you to know that your stay on earth will not be long. Your next illness shall prove to be your last." There was a silence, during which I felt no alarm but only a vibration of great peace. Finally he addressed me again. "You are to be the custodian of a certain silver amulet. I will not give it to you today. To demonstrate the truth in my words, the talisman shall materialize in your hands tomorrow as you meditate. On your deathbed, you must instruct your eldest son Ananta to keep the amulet for 1 year, and then to hand it over to your second son. Mukunda will understand the meaning of the talisman from the great ones. He should receive it about the time he is ready to renounce all worldly hopes and start his vital search for God. When he has retained the amulet for some years, and when it has served its purpose, it shall vanish. Even if kept in the most secret spot, it shall return whence it came. I proffered alms to the saint and bowed before him in great reverence. Not taking the offering, he departed with a blessing. The next evening, as I sat with folded hands in meditation, a silver amulet materialized between my palms, even as the sadhu had promised. It made itself known by a cold, smooth touch. I have jealously guarded it for more than 2 years, and now leave it in Ananta's keeping. Do not grieve for me, as I shall have been ushered by my great Guru into the arms of the infinite. Farewell, my child. The Cosmic Mother will protect you. Swami Paramahansa, Saint with 2 bodies. Mukunda asked his father if he could travel to Benares. He loved to travel. When he was a kid, his father only allowed him to travel to certain cities, and it was usually with a friend. When his father did allow him to travel, Mukunda sat comfortably in first class the entire flight. His father decided to take Mukunda's travel request into consideration and give him an answer in the morning. The next morning, Mukunda's father gave him an answer on whether he could travel to Benares or not. His father handed him a round-trip ticket from Bareilly to Benares, a few rupees noted, and 2 letters. His father stated, "I have a business matter to propose to a Benares friend, Kedar Nath Babu. Unfortunately, I have lost his address, but I believe you will be able to get this letter to him through our common friend, Swami Paramahansa. The Swami, my brother disciple, has attained an exalted spiritual stature. You will benefit by his company. This second note will serve as your introduction." His father also made it very clear that this would be his last trip for a while. At the age of 12, Mukunda traveled to Benares to reach the residence of Swami Paramahansa. When he walked up to the door, it was oddly open, so he proceeded to enter the house and down to the 2nd floor, where he was greeted by Swami Paramahansa as an old friend. "Baba Anand," he said, meaning bliss to my dear one. He went to give the Swami the letter his father wanted Mukunda to give him, but he gave him the letter on introduction accidentally after he clearly already knew who Mukunda was. Oddly, before even reading the letter, he already knew why Mukunda was there and sent for Kedar Nath Babu. Mukunda was confused about how he knew all these things without any information from the letters. Moments later, the saint suddenly stopped the conversation they were having. The sage said that Kedar Nath Babu had arrived, and Mukunda heard someone coming up the stairs. It was as the saint said. Mukunda was so confused about how he got his father's friend there without knowing he was coming. So he asked his father's friend how he knew he was coming. Babu said, "Everything is mysterious today. Less than an hour ago, I had just finished my bath in the Ganges when Swami Paramahansa approached me. I have no idea how he knew I was there at the time. Bhagavati's son is waiting for you in my apartment," he said. "Will you come with me?" I gladly agreed. Mukunda asked how that was possible, since the Swami didn't leave his sight. Babu told Mukunda that the Swami started as an everyday man, but could appear in an extra-human form and work through it. The Many Sages. Perfume Saint. 2 years after Mukunda's journey to the Himalayas with his friend Amar, and before Sri Yukteswar entered his life, he met many sages. He met the Perfume Saint, the Tiger Swami, Nagendra Nath Baduri, Master Mahasaya, and the famous Bengali scientist Jagadish Chandra Bose. He had 2 introductions with the Perfume Saint. One had humor and the other one was friendly. This saint had no sympathy for the masses. The Perfume Saint said, "To love both the invisible God, repository of all virtues, and visible man, apparently possessed of none, is often baffling. But ingenuity is equal to the maze. Inner research soon exposes a unity in all human minds, the stalwart kinship of selfish motive. In one sense at least, the brotherhood of man stands revealed. And aghast humility follows this leveling discovery. It ripens into compassion for one's fellows, blind to the healing potencies of the soul awaiting exploration. He reassured Mukunda that every other saint felt the way Mukunda did and felt bad for the word. He also made it clear that Mukunda was still young and that his views of the world would change as he got older and as his spiritual journey progressed. Tiger Swami. The Tiger Swami was one of the many sages that Mukunda met before his guru entered his life. Mukunda's high school friend Chandi welcomed the idea of meeting the saint that was known to catch and fight tigers with his bare hands. The boy side of Mukunda really wanted to meet him and thought he was super cool. Once they got his address, Mukunda and Chandi set off happily to see the Tiger Swami's house. When they arrived, a servant answered the door and later told them to enter the quiet apartment. They were shocked by the appearance of the well-known monk. He sat on his bed with football-sized biceps. The monk had tiger-like qualities in his eyes and tiger skin around his muscular waist. Once Mukunda and his friend had enough courage, they greeted the monk and told him how much they admired him and his prowess in the feline arena. They asked the monk how he could subdue a tiger with only his fists. The monk told the boys, "You look upon tigers as tigers. I know them as pussycats." He also informed them that a beast like a tiger could be tamed if the man not only had a strong body, but also immensely strong determination to turn the tables on the tiger instead of the tiger turning the tables on the man. Levitating Saint. Baduri Mahasaya, also known as the Levitating Saint, struck Mukunda's interest as well. This saint told Mukunda that he, one day, would carry India's teachings to America. Mahasaya said, "Sir, why do you not write a book on yoga for the benefit of the world? I am training disciples. They and their students will be living volumes, proof against the natural disintegrations of time and the unnatural interpretations of the critics." Baduri later presented various logical points connected with the existence of Mirabai's life. Mirabai was a medieval Rajputani princess who left her life to be with sadhus, but because she was a woman, the sannyasa turned her down. She composed many songs that are still enjoyed and treasured today in India. One of them is translated below. "If by bathing daily God could be realized, sooner would I be a whale in the deep. If by eating roots and fruits he could be known, gladly would I choose the form of a goat. If the counting of rosaries uncovered him, I would say my prayers on mammoth beads. If bowing before stone images unveiled him, a flinty mountain I would humbly worship. If by drinking milk the Lord could be imbibed, many calves and children would know him. If abandoning one's wife would summon God, would not thousands be eunuchs?" Mirabai knows that to find the Divine One, the only indispensable is love. The final word given to Mukundi by Baduri Mahasaya before he left to the West was, "Son, go to America. Take the dignity of hoary India for your shield. Victory is written on your brow. The noble, distant people will well receive you." Master Mahasaya. Master Mahasaya was forever absorbed in his heavenly cosmic romance and was a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Mukunda approached him and the master silenced him as he talked to his divine mother. Once the saint was finished, he greeted Mukunda. Just the greeting of Mahasaya gave him so many feelings of separation from his mother, and even more anguish than he felt on the day of her passing. Shortly after he felt spiritual agony from the separation from his divine mother. The master felt sympathetic for Mukunda, but told him to be quiet. The master Mahasaya later had an intimate chat with the Universal Mother. Mukunda then learned he was blind to the Universal Mother. The master told him he would tell the mother Mukunda's plea. Mukunda then felt a sense of relief and said he would return for her message. Brindaban. Two broke boars. Mukunda's older brother, Sermon, told him it would be good if their father cut him off because he was throwing his life away for religion. Mukunda continued his journey anyways. Mukunda and Jitendra arrived at Ananta's house in the city of Agra. When they arrived, one of Mukunda's brothers was supervising the railroad and told him to put money first and God later, so their father would cut him off financially. Mukunda told his brother that money was his slave and God came first, and that life was too short to not do what you feel you are meant to do. Jitendra got Mukunda to travel to Agra, then to his newfound guru, Swami Yukteswar Giri. Swami Yukteswar Giri. According to his younger brother, Sananda, Mukunda was very aware and had more experience of the spiritual than someone of his age in his early years. His journey to look for many saints ended in 1910 at the age of 17, when he met his guru. His guru's name was Swami Yukteswar Giri. When he first met his guru, he felt like he was catching up with the friend he hadn't seen in years. Once he found Yukteswar, he began his spiritual journey with his family and guru. Yukteswar believed the saint Mahavatar Babaji sent Mukunda into his life for a special reason. Mukunda later stated, "We entered a oneness of silence. Words seemed the rankest superfluities. Eloquence flowed in soundless chant from heart of master to disciple. With an antenna of irrefragable insight, I sensed that my guru knew God and would lead me to him. The obscuration of this life disappeared in a fragile dawn of prenatal memories. Dramatic time, past, present, and future are its cycling scenes. This was not the first son to find me at these holy feet." The thought of the master grew as he grew older and into adulthood. His thoughts of his guru went from a small image to a spiritual presence. Mukunda prayed to Yukteswar for spiritual healing when he fell ill with the fatal disease. He later received spiritual sight and was healed from his illness after praying to his guru. The phrase, "I am Ishmael, I am light," inspired Mukunda to find God. He would say, "Never use the power of word to do harm." Mukunda believed in the power of word and that it could heal someone without bearing a physical scar. Kneeling at his guru's feet, Mukunda told his master he was there to follow him. Because Mukunda didn't listen to his master's wishes at all, his master felt like that could not be why he was there. Mukunda apologized and told his masters that his wishes would be his law. Yukteswar told Mukunda to return home to his family to further his education in Calcutta by attending college. First, his father told him to go to college, and then his guru told him to do the same. His master told him that when he traveled to the West, people would be more likely to listen to him if he had been to college and was educated. While in Calcutta attending college, he was also instructed to visit his guru as much as possible whenever there was time. Mukunda's long search for a true guru had ended, and he listened to his guidance until he left to go to the West. Ram Gopal Muzumdar, Sleepless Saint. Mukunda went on the search to find the address of the sleepless saint instead of listening to his guru and going to college. He later found out he resided at Rambajpur near Tarekeswar. He got on the next train to Tarekeswar and was hoping to get to backing and support of the sleepless saint, to head to the Himalayas by himself to meditate. Mukunda heard that Bahari's friend, after many years of Kriya Yoga in an isolated cave, received light. Numerous miracles had happened in Tarekeswar, as well as the healing of one of Mukunda's family members. Many days passed on his journey to find Ram Gopal with no success, and he got lost, so he prayed he would be guided in the right direction. A person in the previous village told him he might find the yogi in Rambajpur, so he headed in that direction. Mukunda traveled through harsh weather and almost passed out and considered giving up on the search when someone approached him with piercing, dark eyes. The stranger said, "The devotee inclines to think his path to God is the only way. Yoga, through which divinity is found within, is doubtless the highest road. So Lahiri Mahasaya has told us. But discovering the Lord within, we soon perceive him without. Holy shrines at Yukteswar and elsewhere are rightly venerated as nuclear centers of spiritual power. Mukunda then knew he had found the sleepless saint he was desperately looking for. Ram Gopal told Mukunda to return to his master and that a mountain can't be his guru, just like Sri Yukteswar had told him. The Himalayan mountains have no holding on saints, and he needed to listen to his master and not worry so much about the mountains. Once Ram Gopal told him that, Mukunda agreed with him and threw away his lifelong obsession of the Himalayan mountains. Cosmic consciousness. Sri Yukteswar acted like Mukunda never left when he finally arrived. Mukunda could see the Lord in his guru's eyes. He believed the Lord was working through his guru to expand his heart to cosmic love. Mukunda ignored his guru calling him because he knew he was calling him to meditate. Instead, he just yelled to him that he was meditating. Yukteswar knew Mukunda wasn't fully meditating and that his mind was scattered and not focused, so he continued to call him over. His guru never really spoke in riddles until then, and he said, "Poor boy, the mountains couldn't give what you wanted. Your heart's desires shall be fulfilled." Suddenly, Mukunda's regular vision turned to a vast spherical sight with just a single touch to the chest from his guru. He was able to see through a brick wall clearly, and Mukunda's body was unable to move. Then, all his images melted into a bright sea, just like when sugar crystals are thrown into water, then shaken. Mukunda was finally able to catch his breath, but was disappointed to learn his endless immensity was gone. Then, suddenly, he was trapped in his body again and not accompanied by spirit. He felt like a child that ran away and locked himself in a narrow corner. Mukunda was experiencing cosmic consciousness, which was something he had wanted to learn for a very long time. His guru told him to not get too drunk on ecstasy because they had a lot of work to get done. Mukunda had learned the balance of living when the soul must stretch over the cosmogonic abysses, while the body continues to do what needs to be done, like sweeping the balcony floor. His master told him that God made us in his image, but we are trapped in a body, and our souls are made to rise and reunite with him. A master teaches his disciple when he feels the disciple has strengthened his mind enough through meditation, so the cosmic consciousness won't overwhelm them. Mukunda had intellectual willingness and was ready to experience and learn the cosmic consciousness according to his master, Sri Yukteswar. Samadhi. Poem by Paramahansa Yogananda. Vanished the veils of light and shade, lifted every vapor of sorrow, sailed away all dawns of fleeting joy, gone the dim sensory mirage. Love, hate, health, disease, life, death. Perished these false shadows on the screen of duality. Waves of laughter, silos of sarcasm, melancholic whirlpools melting in the vast sea of bliss. The storm of Maya stilled by magic wand of intuition deep. The universe, forgotten dream, subconsciously lurks, ready to invade my newly wakened memory divine. I live without the cosmic shadow, but it is not bereft of me. As the sea exists without the waves, but they breathe not without the sea. Dreams, waking, states of deep turiya sleep. Present, past, future, no more for me, but ever present, all flowing, I, everywhere, planets, stars, stardust, earth, volcanic bursts of doomsday cataclysms, creation's molding furnace, glaciers of silent X-rays, burning electron floods, thoughts of all men, past, present, to come, every blade of grass, myself, mankind, each particle of universal dust, anger, greed, good, bad, salvation, lust, I swallowed, transmuted all into a vast ocean of blood of my own one being. Smoldering joy, oft puffed by meditation, blinding my tearful eyes, burst into immortal flames of bliss, consumed my tears, my frame, my all. Thou art I am thou, knowing, knower, known as one. Tranquil, unbroken thrill, eternally living, ever new peace. Enjoyable beyond imagination of expectancy, samadhi bliss. Not an unconscious state or mental chloroform without willful return. Samadhi but extends my conscious realm beyond limits of the mortal frame to farthest boundary of eternity where I, the cosmic sea, watch the little ego floating in me. The sparrow, each grain of sand fall not without my sight. All space floats like an iceberg in my mental sea. Colossal container, I, of all things made. By deeper, longer, thirsty, guru-given meditation comes this celestial samadhi. Mobile murmurs of atoms are heard, the dark earth, mountains, vales, low, molten liquid. Flowing seas change into vapors of nebula. Aum blows upon vapors, opening wondrously their veils. Oceans stand revealed, shining electrons, till, at last, a sound of the cosmic drum, vanish the grosser lights into eternal rays of all-pervading bliss. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt. Ocean of mind, I drink all creation's waves, 4 veils of solid, liquid, vapor, light, lift aright. Myself in everything enters the great myself. Gone forever, fitful, flickering shadows of mortal memory, spotless is my mental sky, below, ahead, and high above. Eternity and I, one united ray, a tiny bubble of laughter, I am become the sea of mirth itself. Astrology. Yukteswar told Mukunda to get an astrological bracelet. Mukunda asked why, because he didn't believe in astrology. His master told him it was more about if it's true rather than belief, and there was gravity. If people didn't believe in the cosmos, then it wouldn't operate and would be chaotic. Astrology was too complex to be fully understood by man, and they live in an imperfect world where people relay information wrong at times. The stars are only there to give off negative and positive radiation that makes cause and effect. During that time, a baby is born, and the baby's previous and future lives flash before its eyes. Mukunda's master continued to tell him, the soul can't be controlled by the stars because the soul is free. The soul can't be controlled by matter, and the soul can't die. Yukteswar taught Mukunda about Adam and Eve. He told Mukunda that Adam meant reason and Eve meant feeling. Humans didn't evolve but were created in the image of God and were able to make children that also had his image. Mukunda had gained more of an understanding and respect for the Genesis as well as Adam and Eve. Afzal Khan, a wonder worker. Afzal Khan encountered a Hindu yogi, which didn't happen often, and acquired amazing powers through him. The yogi told him, you possess good karma from former lives. I'm going to teach you a certain yoga method which will give you command over one of the invisible realms. The great powers that will be yours should be exercised for worthy ends. Never employ them selfishly. I perceive, alas, that you have brought over from the past some seeds of destructive tendencies. Do not allow them to sprout by watering them with fresh, evil actions. The complexity of your previous karma is such that you must use this life to reconcile your yogic accomplishments with the highest humanitarian goals. The master disappeared once he was done instructing the young boy. Afzal Khan followed those instructions of yoga exercise for over 20 years and began to not use his powers as well and started to ignore to his master. Anything he touched would disappear, and nobody knew where the objects went. Afzal would go to jewelry stores, but any piece of jewelry he touched disappeared after he left the store in Calcutta. He was spotted boarding a train with tickets he had just returned, but somehow he had the same ticket in hand, and many students wanted to learn his ways and how he made things disappear, then reappear. He had many people following him around. He became a thief in a way. He would steal people's personal belongings and only return them if the person paid him. As Yogananda's guru continued telling him of the wonder worker, Yogananda asked him why he stole from others when he could make gold fall from the sky. The guru told Yogananda that he was not developed spiritually. Sri Yukteswar continued to explain to Yogananda that Afzal could make anything he wanted appear through the technique of yoga he had access to. Through a being that went by the name Hazrat, Afzal could make any object appear using ethic energy by his strong will. Even though he had the power to make any object materialize, it only appeared for a moment and couldn't be retained for a long period of time. Afzal was just a normal man that got a hold of a lot of power that mortals normally couldn't receive until life after death. Yogananda's master learned all that information about Afzal in a newspaper and never saw him again. The documents about Afzal were published as follows. I, Afzal Khan, am writing these words as an act of penance and as a warning to those who seek the possession of miraculous powers. For years I have been misusing the wondrous abilities imparted to me through the grace of God and my master. I became drunk with egotism, feeling that I was beyond the ordinary laws of morality. My day of reckoning finally arrived. Recently, I met an old man on a road outside Calcutta. He limped along painfully, carrying a shining object which looked like gold. I addressed him with greed in my heart. I am Afzal Khan, the great faker. What have you there? This ball of gold is my sole material wealth. It can be of no interest to a faker. I implore you, sir, to heal my limp. I touched the ball and walked away without reply. The old man hobbled after me. He soon raised an outcry, "My gold is gone." As I paid no attention, he suddenly spoke in a stentorian voice that issued oddly from his frail body. "Do you not recognize me?" I stood speechless, aghast at the belated discovery that this unimpressive old cripple was none other than the great saint who, long, long ago, had initiated me into yoga. He straightened himself. His body instantly became strong and youthful. "So," my guru's glance was fiery, "I see with my own eyes that you use your powers not to help suffering humanity, but to prey on it like a common thief. I withdraw your occult gifts. Hazrat is now freed from you. No longer shall you be a terror in Bengal." I called on Hazrat in anguished tones. For the first time, he did not appear to my inner sight, but some dark veil suddenly lifted within me. I saw clearly the blasphemy of my life. "My guru, I thank you for coming to banish my long delusion." I was sobbing at his feet. "I promise to forsake my worldly ambitions. I will retire to the mountains for lonely meditation on God, hoping to atone for my evil past." My master regarded me with silent compassion. "I feel your sincerity," he said finally. "Because of your earlier years of strict obedience and because of your present repentance, I will grant you one boon. Your other powers are now gone, but whenever food and clothing are needed, you may still call successfully on Hazrat to supply them. Devote yourself wholeheartedly to divine understanding in the mountain solitudes." My guru then vanished. I was left to my tears and reflections. Farewell, world. I go to seek the forgiveness of the cosmic beloved. Path to further education. Mukunda finally listened to his guru's advice and went to college. He attended a university called Sarampore College. Mukunda had a hard time in college and had the nickname Mad Monk. In Indian universities, if a student didn't pass one subject in the A-B finals, they would have to take all subjects the next year. Professor Ghoshal was one of Mukunda's professors at the college he attended. That professor gave him a particularly hard time and threatened to fail him in philosophy just because of how religious Mukunda was. Since he had such issues with this professor, he had a friend come with him to get the results of the final as a witness. Mukunda was surprised to hear that he didn't pass, and the professor looked at him with triumph. Mukunda searched through the pile of papers to find his that the professor told him he failed, and found that there was no paper with his name in the pile of tests. Mukunda knew something wasn't right because he was there the day everyone took the final. He got permission from the teacher to look through the entire pile and found his final with a passing score. Mukunda knew the professor would fail him, so he didn't put his name on the test but just his identification mark. The professor told him he was lucky and wouldn't pass the A-B finals. June of 1915, he graduated with a bachelor's degree in arts after passing his intermediate examination in arts at Scottish Church College. His degree was known as a A-B degree during this time instead of a B.A. degree like we know it as today. Attending college at Sarampore College allowed him to be close and spend more time at his guru, Yukteswar's ashram. Becoming a monk. Mukunda would ask his guru the same question and would be turned down on whether he was going to make him a monk of the Swami order. Mukunda's father really wanted him to take an executive position working with him with the Bengal-Nagpur Railway, but he continued to tell him no in hopes to become a monk. His guru continued to test him to see how serious he was about becoming a monk. Mukunda didn't marry in order to only belong to the Lord. Instead of getting married, conforming to the world, and finding how he could please his wife, he pleased the Lord. His friends that married had forgotten to deeply meditate. His master had seen his dedication to the Lord and agreed to start the swamiship to become a monk. July of 1914 was a huge day in Mukunda's life that he never would forget. It was a few weeks after his college graduation. His master got his silk robe dyed and dried with the Swami order color of ochre. His guru put the silk around him like a robe, and that would be the attire he would wear when he traveled to the West. Sri Yukteswar was against ceremonies, so he made Mukunda a Swami in a non-ceremonial way. Mukunda chose his own Swami name, and he went with the name that meant bliss through divine union, which was Yogananda. In that moment, he had forsaken his family name of Mukunda Lal Ghosh. The year 1915, he took a vow into the monastic Swami order and became known as Yogananda of the Giri branch of the Swami order. Yogananda was so fulfilled and happy that he sang a verse of a song from chant of Lord Shankara. Mind, nor intellect nor ego, feeling, sky nor earth nor metals am I. I am he, blessed spirit, I am he. No birth, no death, no caste have I. Father, mother have I none. I am he, blessed spirit, I am he. Beyond the flights of fancy, formless am I, permeating the limbs of all life. Bondage I do not fear, I am free, ever free. I am he, blessed spirit, I am he. Kriya Yoga. Modern India knows Kriya Yoga through the meaning of Lahiri Mahasaya, who was Yogananda's guru's guru. Kri, which is the root word of Kriya, means to do, to act, and react. The same root word is found in the word karma. If a yogi truthfully follows the technique of Kriya, he is freed from karma and the chain of creation. Yogananda was unable to fully explain Kriya Yoga because you can only learn the techniques from a Kriya Yogi or a Kriyaban. Kriya Yogi can prevent or slow down the decay of tissue and turn it into energy. Sri Yukteswar told his students that Kriya Yoga is a tool by which human advancement can be sped up. If a yogi practiced Kriya 1,000 times in 8 hours in one day, it would give them 1,000 years of natural progression. Through the practice, a person's body can't handle excessive practice of Kriya, but with slow acclimation over time, then a person could use it more hours a day. Yoga School at Ranchi. The year of 1917, he founded a school that has become Yoga Satsanga Society of India, Self-Realization Fellowship. At that time, it was a school for boys that fought modern education with yoga training and spiritual ideas located in Dihika, West Bengal, that relocated a year later to Ranchi. At Ranchi, he had agricultural, industrial, commercial, and academic subjects for grammar and high school grades. He also taught the student what he discovered called yogoda, as well as taught yoga, meditation, and concentration. Yogananda told the students that the human body is like a battery, and it can be charged through will and cosmic energy of yogoda. 1 year after being opened, the school received over 2,000 applications, but they could only accommodate 100 residential students at the time. With the teachings and programs that were offered, the students were doing very well and were able to shift their energy from one part of the body to another. Yogananda's younger brother, Vishnu Charan Ghosh, joined the school as well. Yogananda even had some students traveling to show other people in schools what they learned. They even impressed people at Columbia University in New York. Yogananda's father was very upset he didn't take his father's offer to work with the railroad, but one day he came to check out the school his son had created and give a parental blessing. When his father arrived at the school, he said, "Son, I am now reconciled to your choice in life. It gives me joy to see you amidst these happy, eager youngsters. You belong here rather than with the lifeless figures of railroad timetables." Even though his father was disappointed he didn't follow in his footsteps, he was proud of Yogananda's success and glad he didn't listen to him and did what he thought was right for his own future. Yogananda's mission to America. One day in 1920, while meditating at the Ranchi school, Yogananda had a divine vision showing him that it was time to leave to the West and start his work. He immediately left for Calcutta. The next day, he was invited to serve as India's delegate to an international congress of religious leaders that happened later in the year in Boston. Just to make sure he was making the right decision, he went looking for Sri Yukteswar in Serampore, and once he found his guru, he asked him if he should go. Sri Yukteswar confirmed that it was the right time, saying, "All doors are open for you. It is now or never." Even though his guru said it was the right time to go to the West, and he had a vision, he was still nervous because he had never given a lecture before and never in English. Yukteswar reassured Yogananda and said he would be fine and that his words of yoga should be heard in the West with English or without English. Before he departed, Yogananda was visited by Mahavatar Babaji, the immortal master who came back to life in this age, the ancient science of Kriya Yoga. Yogananda was chosen to spread the word of Kriya Yoga to the West. Babaji met with Yogananda's guru Yukteswar at a Kumbh Mela and told him he would send Yogananda to him for training. Yogananda arrived in Boston in September of 1920. His first speech he made for the International Congress of Religious Liberals was on the science of religion, and he was received cheerfully. That same year, he discovered Self-Realization Fellowship to spread worldwide his teachings on India's ancient science and philosophy of yoga. The first Self-Religious Fellowship Meditation Center began in Boston with the help of future lifelong disciples Dr. Lewis and Mrs. Alice Hasey, Sister Yogmata. For the next several years, he lectured and taught on the East Coast. In 1924, he took off on a cross-continental lecture tour. Traveling to Los Angeles in 1925, Yogananda accepted an international headquarters for Self-Realization Fellowship atop Mount Washington. That later became the spiritual and executive soul and center of his developing work. Yogananda ended his Western tour spreading the word of yoga in northern Alaska. He sent pictures throughout his tour to his guru of the many American activities. Yogananda's guru, Sri Yukteswar, replied with a postcard that read, 11th August, 1926. Child of my heart, O Yogananda, seeing the photos of your school and students, what joy comes in my life I cannot express in words. I am melting in joy to see you yoga students of different cities. Beholding your methods in chant affirmations, healing vibrations, and divine healing prayers, I cannot refrain from thanking you from my heart. Seeing the gate, the winding hilly way upward, and the beautiful scenery spread out beneath the Mount Washington estates, I yearn to behold it all with my own eyes. Everything here is going on well. Through the grace of God, may you ever be in bliss. Sri Yukteswar Giri. The introduction of yoga. Since Yogananda's father gave him a generous check, he was able to stay in America after Congress had ended. From 1924 to 1935, Yogananda traveled and lectured widely, speaking to capacity audiences in many of the largest auditoriums in America, from New York's Carnegie Hall to the Los Angeles Philharmonic Auditorium. The Los Angeles Times reported, "The Philharmonic Auditorium presents the extraordinary spectacle of thousands being turned away an hour before the advertised opening of a lecture, with the 3,000-seat hall filled to its utmost capacity." Yogananda highlighted the underlying unity of the world's great religions and taught universally appropriate techniques for reaching direct personal experience of God. To serious students of his teachings, he taught the soul awakening techniques of Kriya Yoga and converted more than 100,000 men and women during his 30 years of teaching and lecturing in the West. Among those who became his students were many prominent figures in science, business, and the arts, including horticulturist Luther Burbank, operatic soprano Amelita Galli-Curci, George Eastman, inventor of the Kodak camera, poet Edwin Markham, and symphony conductor Leopold Stokowski. In 1927, he was officially received at the White House by President Calvin Coolidge, who was interested in the newspaper reports of his activities. During a 2-month trip to Mexico in 1929, he planted the seeds for future growth of his work in Latin America. He was welcomed by the President of Mexico at the time, Dr. Emilio Portes Gil, who became a lifelong admirer of Yogananda's teachings and work. Yogananda had also met quite a few of the early disciples in the mid-1930s who would help him build the Self-Realization Fellowship work and continue the Kriya Yoga mission after he was no longer around. He appointed 2 disciples, Rajarsi Janakananda, also known as James J. Lin, and Sri Daya Mata, to be his spiritual successors as president of Self-Realization Fellowship. James Lin met with the guru in Kansas City in 1932, and Sri Daya Mata had attended his classes in Salt Lake City the previous year. During the 1920s and 1930s, many other disciples went to his lecture and dedicated their lives to the Self-Realization Fellowship work. The disciples that Yogananda met were Dr. Lewis in 1920 in Boston, Jnana Mata met him in Seattle in 1924, Tara Mata met him in San Francisco in 1924, Durga Mata met him in Detroit in 1929, Kanda Mata met him in Salt Lake City in 1931, Srata Mata met him in Tacoma in 1933, and Salasuda Mata met him in Santa Barbara in 1933. For many years after Yogananda's passing, and continuing to this day, Self-Realization Fellowship has been guided by disciples who received Paramahansa Yogananda's personal spiritual training. Yogananda's classes and talks in the earliest years of his ministry were recorded at regular intervals. However, Sri Daya Mata joined his ashram in 1931, then later became president of his worldwide organization. She took responsibility of the blessed task of faithfully documenting and recording Yogananda's classes, hundreds of lectures, and straightforward talks so that his knowledge and inspiration could be preserved in their original power and purity and published by Self-Realization Fellowship for many generations to come. Back to India. Yogananda returned to India for a last visit with his great guru August 22, 1935. When he got off the boat, he was greeted by friends and family to welcome him home to India. He had a year of endless activities planned for his return. Yogananda was treated as a celebrity with reporters and paparazzi taking pictures when he arrived at his hotel. Traveling by ship and car through Europe, Palestine, and Egypt, he arrived in Bombay in the summer of 1935. Yogananda had never been to Bombay before. The year Yogananda was staying in his hometown, he gave classes and Kriya Yoga beginning in cities throughout India. He also enjoyed meetings with Mahatma Gandhi, who requested an orientation in Kriya Yoga, as well as Nobel Prize-winning physicist Sir C.V. Raman, and some of India's most famous spiritual figures, including Ramana Maharshi and Anandamoya Ma. Yogananda secured the permanent base for his work in India while he was there in Yogoda Satsangi Society of India. From its main location in the Dakshineswar and the original retreat in Ranchi, the society continues to thrive to this day. There are schools, retreats, meditation centers, and charitable works through the entire landmass. Yogananda returned to America in 1936, where he stayed and lived the rest of his life. Passing of Sri Yukteswar. Yogananda went to visit his guru at the Serampore Hermitage to speak with him. Sri Yukteswar asked him what his question was, and Yogananda asked why, after all these years, he had never said, "I love you." He told his guru he knew he loved him, but he really wanted to hear him say it just once. Yukteswar told Yogananda that he always wanted a son to teach and train, and once he met him, then he felt complete. Then, as he teared up, he told Yogananda, "Yogananda, I love you always." Hearing his guru say that he loved him put him at ease and answered the questions he had for years, since his guru never really expressed emotion. That year, he got to speak at Serampore College in front of the alumni and entire school where he graduated. Even the professor that had wanted nothing more than to see Yogananda fail was there and greeted him. In that moment, he forgave Dr. Ghoshal for everything he put him through. That same year, Yogananda's guru gave him the highest spiritual title in India, Paramahansa, meaning Supreme Swan. The title symbolizes one who is accepted in the ultimate state of joining with God. Yogananda thought it was funny because his American students would have difficulty pronouncing Paramahansaji. Yukteswar then expressed to him that he was passing on the torch to Yogananda and that his tasks on earth had come to an end. Sri Yukteswar continued to tell him, "Please send someone to take charge of our ashram at Prairie. I leave everything in your hands. You will be able to successfully sail the boat of your life and that of the organization to the divine shores." Yogananda's heart was beating in fear, and while he was in tears, his guru rose to bless him endearingly. Then, Sri Yukteswar passed away on March 9, 1936. Spiritual finding. During the 1930s, Paramahansa Yogananda began to pull away from his nationwide public lecturing to commit himself to the publications that would continue his message to future generations. He also wanted to build a good foundation for the humanitarian and the spiritual work of Self-Realization Fellowship, Yogoda Satsanga Society of India. For the students under his direction, the personal guidance and instruction gave them personalized, comprehensive series, Self-Realization Fellowship lessons for home study. A beautiful hermitage overlooking the Pacific Ocean at Encinitas, California, had been built for the guru during his absence in India by his beloved disciple, Rajarsi Yogananda. Here, the guru spent many years working on his autobiography and other writings, and began the SRF retreat program, which continues to this day. He also founded several Self-Realization Fellowship temples in Encinitas, Hollywood, and San Diego. Yogananda spoke regularly there to devoted audiences of Self-Realization Fellowship members and friends, on a vast variety of spiritual subjects. Many of these lectures were recorded by Sri Yukteswar and have since been published by Self-Realization Fellowship in 3 different volumes of Yogananda's collected talks and essays and in Self-Realization magazine. Yogananda's story about his life, called Autobiography of a Yogi, was published in 1946, and he expanded on it significantly in many editions. As a bestseller, the book has been in continuous publication since it first appeared and has been translated into many languages. It is widely regarded as a modern spiritual classic. Paramahansa Yogananda held the first Self-Realization Fellowship World Convocation at the main international office during the 1950s in Los Angeles at a week-long event that today attracts thousands each year from all around the world. He also dedicated the beautiful Self-Realization Fellowship Lake Shrine in Pacific Palisades and incorporated a portion of Mahatma Gandhi's ashes in the 10-acre lakeside meditation gardens that has become one of California's most important spiritual landmarks. Giri Bala, the women who never ate. Giri Bala had a different yoga technique that made her able to live without eating. Sthitu Babu knew her very well, and she was Yogananda's neighbor when he lived in Nawambanj near Ikapur. Yogananda took it into his hands to keep an eye on her, just to see if she really lived without food or water. He was so interested and fascinated by her ways, he approached the Maharaja of Burdwan and asked him to investigate her because Yogananda didn't believe that it was possible to live without drinking or eating anything. The Maharaja of Burdwan was able to conduct 3 tests that Giri Bala agreed to, where he locked her away for a month to 2 months at a time to see if she really was able to live without anything to eat or drink. After he completed all 3 tests, she had convinced the Maharaja of Burdwan of her non-eating ways. Maharaja of Burdwan told Yogananda, and he was convinced after seeing the results of the test. There was no denying it. Yogananda had looked forward to finding her and meeting her for the past 25 years, and wasn't even sure if she was still alive, but they went to Purulia to find out. Once they arrived, they found out she was in Biur, so Yogananda and his friend headed to Biur. The great Giri Bala Yogi powered her body with cosmic energy instead of food. She had not eaten or taken a drink since 1880, and Yogananda had the honor to meet her in 1936, when she was in her 70s. She was living in her home in a Bengal village in Biur at the time of their meeting. Back to the West. Even though Yogananda had given many lessons in both India and America over the years as a Hindu, he was most happy giving lessons to his English students in London. His students in London appreciated the compliment he gave them. Yogananda traveled to England, September of 1936, to fulfill a promise to lecture again in London. India was his past, and he had no plans to return. Yogananda's students in London organized their own Self-Realization Fellowship Center while he was gone during the years of war. They even had their own meditation meetings weekly until Yogananda's return. While in London, he toured around the countryside with Mr. Wright and explored British history. Yogananda always enjoyed his stays in London over any other place he visited in his lifetime. He traveled with his friends, Miss Bletch and Mr. Wright, from Southampton to America in late October of that year to see the Statue of Liberty, and he said it took their breath away. The next destination with the Ford they were driving was Mount Washington, California, in late 1936. They held an 8-hour group meditation for Christmas Eve that year, then had an amazing banquet the day of Christmas with a huge Christmas tree lit up with beautiful lights and a fireplace crackling. Yogananda passed out all the gifts under the tree and gave the lady, Sister Jnanamata, that oversaw Mount Washington, a long box with a sari of golden Banaras silk from India. The next gift he gave was to Mr. Dickinson, that had been part of every Christmas since the opening of Mount Washington in 1925. When he opened the gift, it was the silver cup, which meant he would be taking over Yogananda's role of Santa Claus from now on. Mr. Dickinson was overwhelmed with emotion and had been looking forward to getting the silver cup from Yogananda for 43 years. Mr. Dickinson was told by Swami Vivekananda that he would receive a silver cup, and in 1925, he prayed he would find his guru, and then the next day attended one of Yogananda's lectures. He received the silver cup 43 years later, just as Swami Vivekananda had predicted. The passing of Yogananda. Paramahansa Yogananda spent most of his final years secluded intensely, completing his writings, including his immense study on the Bhagavad Gita, the teachings of Jesus Christ in the four Gospels, revisions of earlier works such as Whispers from Eternity, and the Self-Realization Fellowship Lessons. Yogananda also worked extensively with Sri Daya Mata, Mrinalini Mata, and a few other of his closest disciples to convey the spiritual and organizational guidance that would authorize them to carry on his worldwide work after his passing. He told them, "My body shall pass, but my work shall go on, and my spirit shall live on. Even when I am taken away, I shall work with you all for the deliverance of the world with the message of God." Those who have come to Self-Realization Fellowship, truly seeking inward spiritual help, shall receive what they seek from God. Whether they come while I am in the body or afterward, the power of God through the link of the SRF gurus shall flow into the devotees just the same and shall be the cause of their salvation. The ever-living Babaji has promised to guard and guide the progress of all sincere SRF devotees. Lahiri Mahasaya and Sri Yukteswar Giri, who have left their physical forms, and I myself, even after I have left the body, all will ever protect and direct the sincere members of SRF YSS. On March 7, 1952, the great guru entered Mahasamadhi. Mahasamadhi, which is when a God-illumined conscious exits from the human body at the time of death. At the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles, he had just finished giving a short speech at a banquet honoring India's ambassador, Dr. Binay R. Sen, to the United States. His passing was forever remembered by an astonishing event. A notarized statement signed by the director of Forest Lawn Memorial Park testified, "No physical disintegration was visible in his body, even 20 days after death. This appearance of perfect preservation of a body is, so far as we know from mortuary annals, an unheard of one." Yogananda's body was apparently in an unchanged and amazing condition. In past years, Swami Sri Yukteswar had referred to Paramahansa Yogananda as a lifetime of divine love. Paramahansa Yogananda's disciple and first spiritual successor, Rasarsi Janakananda, later accurately honored him the title of M-Avatar, Incarnation of Divine Love. On the 25th anniversary of Paramahansa Yogananda's passing, he was given a formal recognition by the governments of India for his far-reaching contributions to the spiritual upliftment of humanity. A special remembrance was issued in his honor, together with a tribute that read, "The ideal of love for God and service to humanity found full expression in the life of Paramahansa Yogananda. Though the major part of his life was spent outside India, still he takes his place among our great saints. His work continues to grow and shine ever more brightly, drawing people everywhere on the path of the pilgrimage of the Spirit."